Hello everybody, and I hope you're having a fantastic day. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about the Divine Grace spawn that just came out. Now, before I actually get into this video, I wanted to say I would have came out with this video right and early in the morning, except I needed to get the last relic for the 40 cost dragon that I have. That I will talk about in the video once I'm done farming to the extreme like I have. But anyways, if I can find her around here, I got her 40 costs, fully reforged. I might go for another one, I might not, it really all depends. I was doing purgatory last before I actually made this video with a couple of people. I honestly needed a break. I was starting to screw up slightly. I wouldn't say it was devastatingly screwing up, because I wasn't the only one screwing up, but I was starting to screw up as well, and I think we all just needed a break, to be fairly honest. So mainly because I want to make sure I came out with this video before the end of the day. I'm pretty sure a lot of you have been waiting for this, and I'm terribly sorry about this. But yeah, at the bright side, I got my 40 cost dragon. I'm not sure if I'm going to get mine archer stat, but at least I got mine between, and just in case I need to go rook, I have some defense instead of just straight up like raw attacks. So it's a balance between whether I would choose a rook or archer, to be fairly honest. I'm going to do one or the other for guild battles though, so it's a nice balance and safe monster, to be fairly honest. I'm not going to complain. I got her, that's all I can really say. Anyways, moving on from there, I also would like to say I'm pretty happy about the fact that they didn't decide to keep doing these crazy over dramatically powering freaking spawns, and they just keep uploading next cost, the next cost, the next cost, the next cost. Thing I noticed about what they're doing right now is I don't mind if they add awakening to their monsters to give you a little bit of extra gear score boost. I just bought them for a good second to keep it at 35 cost weapons, 36 cost armors, and 36 cost monsters. I'm glad they're doing what they're doing. I honestly would love if they kept it like this. This is amazing, to be fairly honest, and it's given me enough time to actually take a break. And if you actually look at my archer now, a couple days ago it was actually somewhere in the 500Ks. It is now 648K, nearly 200K attack, 200K magic attack. So I'm getting there. Definitely I'm getting there. I can be easily 700K. I see the process, I see the point, I see the reason, and I see where I could become 700K at. I just need to get there, get the resources, get the material, and I like the fact that they're making breaks like this. Now this Divine Grace is definitely something you don't want to play with, and now I'm finally going to be talking about it. Okay, so first let's actually talk about the monster, and then we could talk about the gear, then we can actually talk about the Divine Grace. Okay, so we got Kumbhira, Heavenly General. She is a player versus enemy monster, and on the occasion can be used in player versus player. I'll talk about that in a second. But anyways, as you can see right here, she heals, ability power of 60, heals everybody. That's the same as Divinity. She increases cost recovery speed of all allies by 10 and reduces ability cooldown times of all allies by 30%, both for 120 seconds. This is one of the longest cost recovery and reduced cooldown time buffs I've ever seen in games, so this is definitely nice. This does this twice as long as most monsters, because I think most monsters do it between 60 to 80 seconds and maybe 90 if I recall correctly, maybe one of them 90, I'm not exactly sure, but this monster does this for an extremely long time, You could probably pop 2 Unisons and then still, after that's done, you know, have like the buff. You could pop 1 Unison, still have the buff, pop the second one, and probably around that time the buff would start ending. But seriously, that's an extremely long time. This is the longest time I've ever seen for a buff like that. Anyways, moving on from there, cast dual attack is also another one. Cooldown time of the next ability used will be reduced to 0, and this can be seen as a dermot. I see this more as a beneficial thing than a dermot. It places all allies at 60 cost, so regardless of where your cost is at, it will be placed to 60 cost. The reason I say that is because you have increased cost recovery speed, so it's not going to hurt a lot if you get set back. Usually when you're popping Unison, unless it's like guild battles or something, even then, it's sometimes in guild battles it's a beneficial thing, But anyways, if you're popping it in player versus enemy, usually you're out of cost, you're close to death, status alignments are hitting your team, and what's so not, and stuff like that. So usually 60 cost, getting placed at 60 cost is not a bad thing either way. Even if it is, you got some cost recovery speed to catch back up quickly. And then it casts Blessing. Blessing is one of the best buffs in the game. Better for more of like tanky and healing classes. You can use this though on DPS, and I'll talk about that in a second. It recovers 50 cost, increase max HP by 100%, nullifies status alignments and usage dodge reduction effects, reduces cooldown times by 50%, and recovers 20% of max HP over 12 seconds. And this will only be last for 60 seconds. Okay, so the reason I say that is because, as you see me talk about in the ability, it says like nothing about nullifying debuffs whatsoever. As a DPS class, you need to be doing as much damage as possible, and the fact that it doesn't nullify debuffs, if you're dealing with a monster, you're dealing with an enemy, you're dealing with something that debuffs you, that's going to be an issue. Hero goes right through any of it, and it doesn't give a crap. It gives you a buff, and it stays with that buff till the end of when Hero gets cast. And that's just how Hero works. Hero doesn't play any games. Hero, you're set. You're not dealing with any debuffs whatsoever. You got yourself a buff and you're set until Hero ends. Blessing, on the other hand, Blessing pretty much doesn't, like, it's not in collaboration with buffs or debuffs whatsoever. You could definitely get a lot more buffs with this, but if you're dealing with like late end game monsters, enemies, whatever you're dealing with, usually they'll debuff, and they'll debuff pretty dang quickly, and you know, that's going to affect your damage. You will get more cost and reduce cooldown times with this one, but like I said, you probably want debuffs, to be fairly honest. So it's really depending on whether you like Blessing or Hero more. I personally would go for Hero for DPS, because again, debuffs matter as much as, actually more than Blessing would when it comes to DPS. Definitely though, for Blessing, I definitely recommend it for tanky and healing classes regardless. Anyways, moving on from there, this can be used in player versus player for one thing. I have noticed this. It increases the Unison activation priority of the effect by 1, so it's one of those monsters that go first no matter what. Unless there's other monsters that do the exact same thing, then it really depends. Like, I think it's just a normal situation, to be fairly honest, from there. But anyways, moving on from there. So yeah, no matter whether you win or lose a Unison battle, this monster is one of those monsters that go first. So the reason I'm saying that is, if you look right here, nullifies buff removal one time for all allies. If you remember the very first Unison activation priority monster, and is still one of the best, her name is Madia, and as you can see right here, what she does is pretty dang strong. Zero used her to win the grand tournament against the Puff Puffs not too very long ago. It was like late 2018, I think it was September or something like that, to be fairly honest. But yeah, the grand tournament, before the grand tournament we had, Madia was meta. When she came out, she was meta for player versus player. If you threw down a Madia, depending on the circumstance, sometimes your team could survive a full destruction of Unison damage. Like, the other team could use the nastiest attacking Unisons in the game. Depending on the situation, if you throw down one Madia, your team could survive, and if you throw down two, you're pretty much guaranteed to survive at that point. Madia was a really nasty monster, to be fairly honest, and super freaking helpful. She used damage reduction, nullifies a couple hits for a couple times, and she also healed. I think she had a continuous heal, I'm not exactly sure. The ability's right above her. But anyways, yeah, she was really nasty. She could like take all that damage that the enemy team was throwing at you in player versus player and nearly turn it to jack squat. Seriously, nearly jack squat. And you could do so much with this. You could strategize beyond strategies with this. So that was nice. But for a time, that only happened. And then after a while, if you watch my videos recently, Unison League and A-Team pretty much have been making monsters that revolve around destroying Madia, just beating the crap out of her. If you look in this one right here, as you can see, there's a recent monster. Removes damage reflection, continues healing and damage reduction effects. That's pretty much how Madia, for the most part, was keeping you alive. But since that kind of like they've been adding more monsters, and they're making some more common, to be fairly honest. If you guys remember, Odin for a good while was a pretty common monster to obtain within the monster spawn and step up spawns. So both free to plays and pay to wins have been obtaining these types of monsters, and because of that, Mania has just been getting destroyed. Like, Mania kept the same abilities of what's so not. They didn't nerf her through actually going through her and actually changing the abilities. They nerfed her by adding monsters that just completely just sucker punch the crap out of her or knock her dead or knock her silly. This monster helps prevent that because damage reflection or damage reduction counts as a buff. If you can nullify that remove damage reflection or damage reduction, if you can remove that, if you can nullify that buff removal, you should be set and you shouldn't have to worry about it again. So definitely, this helps Mania rise from the dead. That's why it's good for player versus player, and that's the only reason I really recommend it at all in player versus player, unless possibly you're looking to get more cost. It does have cost recovery speed. Perhaps you're looking for a bit more tanking, because it does increase the maximum HP by 100% for the caster. Other than that, I can't see a reason why you would use this at all in player versus player, unless it's for battle score as well. So this is to help Mania and rise Mania back from the dead. Because Mania for a while has been destroyed by these other monsters, and if you manage to pop this with the Mania, the Mania is going to survive most likely, unless you have like 1,000 of remove Unison damage reduction type of abilities that your enemy team is casting or whatever you have to deal with. But anyways, yeah, so that's pretty much how this monster rolls and what's so not. And then we got the gear. Not just the monster is good, but the gear is good and extremely good. If you look at the ability of the armors, it's Resurrection. They have an opening for Resurrection. When I first saw these gears, like the armors and weapons, my jaw dropped, to be fairly honest. My jaw dropped. Whoa, this is nasty right here. If you could get your hands on these, I definitely would get your hands on these. These are definitely nothing to play with at all. Seriously. No way, Jose. You will see people using these in guild battles. You'll see people using these in coliseums, duel rooms, anything player versus player orientated. People will be using these. If you're going 100% on your battles, no restrictions, people will be using these. It's guaranteed to happen, and you don't want to miss the train. So you definitely want to get your hands on one armor piece if you can. You only need one, because opening Resurrection is something that doesn't stack. It doesn't. You can't just continuously revive yourself over and over and over and over and over and over and over. Resurrection doesn't stack. You can, but you have to wait for the first Resurrection to go away, and since you have these armor stacked, they activate at the same time. You get what I'm saying? So you can't really stack more than one. So you only need one armor piece, but you definitely want to grab one if you can. And then we got the weapons right here, the sacred seals. These sacred seals are pretty dang nasty. As you can see right here, they have been adding recent weapons with seal of attack. They've been adding multiple weapons with seal of attack, but they have been laying back on the other one. And the other one's I think the sacred ability, that's only been on the stellar god weapons. And those are becoming out of date. If you all know, those are 32 costs, and 32 costs have been for a while becoming out of date. Instead, for 35 costs, which is a lot stronger, by the way, I guarantee you, if you max infuse a 32 to a 35, 35 is going to be a heck a lot stronger for a little bit of more cost. Anyways, moving on from there, these sacred seals are super freaking OP. Seriously, they do what a regular testament does, but on top of it, they pretty much take the seals that I just showed you, the weapons, like the 35 cost weapons from that box spawn, those seal ofs. They take those, they take the stellar god weapons ability and add it into one freaking weapon. That's what they do. They also have on their added effect cooldown ability time reduced by 20% and recovers 5 costs. These are nasty weapons. If you can get your hands on the weapon of your class from this Divine Grace spawn, I definitely would, because if not, you're going to be missing out. These right here are specifically designed and really exclusive skills, so you probably won't be seeing these on too many armors or weapons in the game that are around the same cost. They might add more cost and more cost and more cost and then bring these back, maybe even better. But for right now, and for a long time coming, you're probably not going to see any more armors, maybe one, if not any, more armors with opening, resurrection, and you probably won't see any more weapons besides these for a while with any sacred seals. So you definitely want to get your hands on these while you can. These will be coming back, but you probably won't see any other gear pieces or gear sets besides this one right here that has this ability. So you definitely want to get your hands on these while you can. Okay, so moving on from there, the Divine Grace is pretty much how a normal Divine Grace works. In the gear spawn, they don't allow you to obtain the featured gear whatsoever. Sometimes they do with some spawns, usually not Treasure or Divine Grace. They've done this, I think, nearly half a year ago. Other than that, I don't remember any time they did this for any Treasure or Divine Grace spawn. They have rates up. That means it's somewhat obtainable. It's not going to be obtainable, and it's like overall, and it's not going to be easy to get. It's still not going to be, even with rates up. That means it's at least somewhat obtainable if they have rates up. If they don't have rates up, it's near mythical. Like, they threw like a 0.00 something% chance on these to obtain these. They have rates, but they're nearly freaking dead, and they're nearly non-existent. Even though it shows right here SSR at a 12.01% chance, that's pretty much altogether the weapons in general. So yeah, they don't really have any rates for the weapons. They barely have any rates, not weapons, but featured gear. Anyways, if you do want SSRs though, if you're looking to get some SSRs, this is definitely the spawn to do, but only for the first time half off for 15 gems. If you're looking to get SSRs, if you're looking to get the featured gear, you definitely want to look into the Divine Grace spawn, which I recommend, highly recommend. If not, if you're just looking for some quick SSRs, first time half off, spawning this will do the trick. People have gotten 10 SSRs from this before. I've gotten 5 myself. There have been times I've gotten 1, so don't expect right off the bat if I tell you to do this. You're guaranteed to get a lot of SSRs. You're probably not going to be guaranteed to get a lot of SSRs. It's possible. It's definitely possible with those rates, because the SSR rates in the Divine Grace are the highest in the game, unless they come out with another bugged spawn again. Other than that, the chance to get SSRs would be the best in here, unless you got like a guarantee ticket or like a guarantee SSR or something. Anyways, moving on from there. They don't offer too many medals. If you look in the treasure spawns and regular treasure spawns and what's so not, they offer 700 within the jackpot, and then they offer like 400 to 200 on the side. That's how most work. This Divine Grace doesn't work that way. It does offer 1k in the jackpot, which is really nice. I thought that was a good idea. But on the flip side, in the side chest, they only offer for one side chest a chance to get 400 or 200 Divine Grace medals. I don't like that idea. I wish you honestly just would have made a separate 400 Divine Grace medal side chest A-team. I honestly don't like that. It's kind of stupid, because that means, is pretty much just what it's telling you, is there's not a lot of medals you can actually obtain within this spawn. Anyways, moving on from there. In the medal exchange though, they do offer a good list of what you could get and what you could not get. But anyways, like said, if you're going for anything in the spawn, I recommend looking into the freaking gear. The feature gear is amazing. You definitely want to look at that first before anything else. And then maybe on the side, I would recommend some health regen or possibly some reflect damage as opening skills for possibly guild battle. But definitely these could help in duel groups and player versus player Coliseum. And then maybe the Fatal Testaments. The Fatal Testaments may also be good as well on the side. Other than that, you just want to straight up focus on the gear. And at that point, you probably want to save your gems if you're looking to any more featured gear. But yeah, you definitely want to go for this. And the summoning scroll is at its usual 10k amount. So it's going to be a bit hard to get, because again, you have less amount of medals you can actually attain in here than you would in a regular treasure spawn, which is kind of stupid, but yeah. Anyways, moving on from there, thank you for tuning in, thank you for watching. I definitely recommend this spawn. I'm going to be doing the spawn eventually. I'm not exactly sure when. Maybe I might like enter the spawn last second. Again, I'm not sure, but I'm definitely going to be doing the spawn, and I'm definitely going to get at least that armor piece and possibly one weapon. Thank you for tuning in, thank you for watching, and I hope this helped out. This is the AzureWrath, and I'll catch you in the next video. I'm out. Peace.